So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Today we are going to be reacting on the video that went viral on social media last week. First disclaimer, this video seems very much like a skit to me, but I still want to address it, not just because of the buzz and the reactions that it generated on social media, but because it is a very popular topic that has been rearing its head online every once in a while. And when a subject is popular, when a subject is controversial, and when a discussion needs having, believe it that on this channel we are gonna talk it, we are gonna have it, we are gonna say it, regardless of whose ox is God. So let us do this. And if you're new here, you're seeing my face for the first time, or if you have been watching us without subscribing, kilo day, kilo shele, kilo supping, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up. Drop your comments. I want to see your comments. I want to read your comments. I want to get your thoughts. My odogus and my queens. Drop your comments down in the comment section and stay glued, because you know, always, there is so much more coming your way. Without further ado, let us begin with this video. So the video opened with this young, beautiful girl walking into a restaurant, completely unaware of what awaited her. Oh, there was soft music, there were rose petals, balloons and decor, there was a cake. Everything was in place. And with that "Will you marry me" clearly plastered on the wall, it was obviously a proposal. And it was so romantic. Now, it got to the stage where the husband-to-be was supposed to pull out the ring and ask the big question. And surprisingly, he stood gallant like a stallion. He stood on both her legs and brought out the ring to slip it into her finger. The lady was surprised from the video, and she asked that the man goes down on bended knees, that he should bend the knee to ask the big question. But the man insisted that he was not going to kneel to ask, that he was going to stand. An argument ensued. The girl was insistent, but the man maintained his position. And so the lady refused the engagement. And my dear brothers and sisters, naso proposal scatter. In today's video, you can drop your thoughts down in the comment section. Of course, I always want to hear from you. But guess what? I am also coming with my thoughts in today's video, so I'm sharing my opinion. I am sharing my 2 cents, $2, 2 nairas, and 2 kobos. This week is a week of me sharing my thoughts.
You're embarrassing me. Why in public? No, don't tell me that. Why will you tell me to kneel down? Then come back here. No, what's wrong with you? Come here. What's wrong?
Wait. So, personally, I am a traditional girl. I do not consider myself a complete slave queen. I'm not. I am a very traditional girl, and there are so many traditional values that I still uphold in my personal life, in my ideology and concept about life, and in my marriage, in my family. I have a very solid traditional foundation. My parents are both very traditional people. My father is a typical Igbo Nze. Yeah, so I grew up around tradition. I grew up attending traditional functions, masquerade events, so many things, and that has formed my person. I am a big respecter and lover of tradition. So being traditional is not a bad thing at all. But when the following of tradition is premised on pride, on ego, on a disconnect from reality, it becomes really painful to share life with such a person or to deal with that kind of person generally. Let us have this very hard conversation. I promise you, you're going to love it, you're going to hate it, but you're going to learn from it. The truth is that most men that call themselves traditional men are not really lovers or keepers of tradition. They couldn't care less. If you check their overall way of life, I'm talking overall, if you have an overall appraisal of their way of life, from their dressing, their fashion, their lifestyle, politics, food, technology, almost every sphere of their lives, it runs contrary to it. They hardly live out the discipline and the sacrifice that true tradition entails. They cherry pick cultural ideas only when it favors them, when it is favorable to them, whether it is practical, whether it is redundant, whether every other person suffers on account of it. It doesn't matter. They only seek its application to justify a particular behavior or to drive a personal agenda. And that is the truth. Let me even spare my men. Let me make it generally. Human beings will generally use a norm or culture, a law, whatever you call it, devise any approach as a shield to favor themselves. Not necessarily because they love that thing so much or they want to preserve it. So for example, let me bring it to we women. Maybe, okay, you have your 2 legs and your 2 hands and you don't want to work. Maybe you're just someone that does not like working. You are lazy. Some people come out openly and declare, I'm lazy. Okay, you don't want to work. And you're just coming from the angle of, okay, a logical explanation as to why you cannot work now. All right, I'm bearing children. The children need me now. They're still very tender. I'm carrying pregnancies. It's not convenient for the family now. Oh, that's a logical angle to that reason. But the fastest and the easiest way to escape liability, to escape scrutiny, is to hide under tradition. It is a tradition that women do not work. The reason I would say that, for example, as an example, the reason a woman, I would say that, for example, is not because I really reverence that tradition. Is because it is a convenient way out for me not to work. So I quote that tradition as a shield, not as a treasure. Whenever somebody wants to run away from logical and critical thinking, they hide behind tradition. We are going somewhere. Culture is good. Culture is a very good thing. It's what distinguishes us from others. But having the wisdom to know when it should start and where it should end is very important. There are many cultures that were practiced by our grandfathers and our forefathers that have now become impractical, unfitting, outdated, and untenable in the present world. Not because the culture is bad per se. It did serve its purpose at the time. But because its application in the present world and with the present reality has simply become unrealistic and regressive. Permit me to use my favorite example. You know my favorite example. I didn't make it my favorite example, but because it is a very common example on social media. So permit me to use it here. For example, the culture of polygamy. There was a time that polygamy was not just a preference. It was a lifestyle. It was a necessary culture. First, the strength of a family was predominantly determined by the number of offsprings that family produced. So one family, you see 21 children, 25 children, and no one woman could bear all those children. So what was the only option to fortify the name of that house? By marrying many wives and thus having many children. It was necessary. Secondly, illiteracy. Then it was believed that women, because they are the ones that bear the children, were responsible for determining this gender of the children. So when this wife cannot give a male child, then it was not known that it was the man that carried the chromosome that determined gender. So it was the common belief that, oh, since this woman could not bear a male child, let us try another woman, without knowing that it is same content, different bottle. But now technology has exposed that, it is not by the number of women, it is not by the different women. Oga boss, now inside your shokoto, the thing there. The knowledge of that has eliminated the need for some people. In that era, polygamy was also fueled by the high child mortality rates. Go and ask your great-grandmothers of those days. Some would born 11. At the end of the day, it's only 4 that will remain. Polio, smallpox, chickenpox, measles, and all sorts of things were killing children. So, to shock up the effect of the almost expected mortality, that some would die, Some families would need more women and more children. So if the man gives birth to 20, at least by the end of the day, he would have 8. But now, child mortality rate has reduced. Many families end up with the number of children that they started with. That's also made polygamy in the present day less attractive. Labor and famine, families needed those many numbers to aid them in the farm. They needed those many numbers to help family representation in decision makings in the city, in the council, in the village meetings. There were 1,001 reasons why polygamy was workable 100 years ago and will not be attractive today. Even the Arabs, the kings of Islam, the grand patrons of polygamy, go and check them now. Almost all of them are getting married to one wife because they are smart enough to see that then when women couldn't go out to get anything, when women were 100% dependent on men, is different from an era where women are doing things for themselves. It will not be that easy to gather all of them in one house and say you are doing polygamy. But Babatunde, that cannot feed himself, still says it is his culture. Not because he's a cultural man, but because he is a selfish person on a self-seeking agenda. Sensible people with progressive mindsets understand the fluid, dynamic, and ever-changing nature of culture. Ever-evolving, they know that cultures change, and what is cultural and acceptable in a particular time may become outdated in another. After all, it was our culture to kill twins. Are we still doing it today? After all, many years ago, it was not our culture as an Igbo girl to do DNA. They don't go and ask who is the father of a woman's baby. As long as that woman gives birth to that child under the umbrella, under the roof of her husband, that child is her husband's child, the man who paid her bride price. But today we are seeing Igbo boys clamoring for DNA. Do I blame them? No. That culture of accept every child is now fading off. After all, it was our culture for women not to change their surnames after marriage. In fact, in many African cultures, women were taken back to their father's compounds to be buried at death. But that is no more the culture. The culture now is you marry, you adopt your husband's name. So culture can be favorable and unfavorable to this side and that side. But some people want to eat their cake and have it. They only love culture when it favors them. Do you know how many cultures in the Bible that are not practical now? In the Bible, could a woman enter church without covering her hair? It was sacrilege, but today, 80% of churches, you're not required to cover your hair. Washing of feet was a culture back then in the Bible. How many pastors and priests are washing feet now? Cultures change, not because they are bad, but because it has served this term and it is no longer practical in the current times. And if you check our day-to-day lives, at the office, at the place of work, just around us, people who are left redundant, people who are phased off, people who are let go and dumped in the past are people who are unreceptive and resistant to change, who insist on clamoring to old, outdated cultures that is only convenient for them. In the office, for example, there's a new software. There's a new way of doing something, but maybe one boss will not want to implement it. Other branches have implemented it, only that boss, until he gets kicked out of his job. He's not holding to that software because of he loves the name of the software. No, he's holding because it is easier and convenient for him not to change and learn something new. So while it is important for us not to let go of our values as a people, as of some of our values as a people, it is only intelligent to understand that with education, with technological advancement, with exposure, with globalization, some things are bound to change. Some old cultures will not remain cultures and some new cultures will be born. Culture is fluid. Culture is not static. Culture was made for man. Man existed, then culture came. Not man being made for culture. So man should never be a slave to culture. Culture should guide us to live right, not to control us, to hurt others. I'm sure some of you will be like, oh, Nessa, you said you can keep some cultures. It's not all cultures that should be discarded. Culture is good. So how do we strike the balance? I will tell you. There's a very simple test to know your true intention when it comes to culture. Before you scream culture, just in your quiet time, nobody needs to see, nobody needs to hear you. Ask yourself, appraise yourself. Ask yourself, am I the only one enjoying or benefiting from this culture while it is hurting others or putting every other person around me in needless suffering? Is every other person in pain for me to benefit from this culture? If I were to suffer because of this culture that I want to apply, will I still apply it? Or am I applying it just because I am the only beneficiary to its application? If you ask yourself that question honestly, you will have your answer. So for example, it is my culture for my husband to take care of me as an Igbo girl. Oh yes, and he will, and he does, and he can. But if I see him being crushed under a financial need and I have the resources to assist him, will I keep it and say, no, we must follow that culture? Or will I keep culture aside in the interest of the person I love? It's not like that culture is a culture where if I don't adhere to, they will kill me, or they come to houses to pick out people that disobeyed it and Amadio has strikes them down. Oh. A culture that is discretionary, a culture that if I neglect, there are no consequences. So why would I make my relationship a slave of culture? I am not observing culture. I am just a selfish person trying to evade responsibility and accountability, and it applies with both genders. I am speaking a lot about culture here because that was predominantly the excuse from a lot of people. It is not our culture for him to kneel, so why must he kneel? It is not our culture for him to do that. It is our culture for this to happen. It is our culture. You know, whenever something like this happens, the easiest excuse and respite is to quote the culture line. So now I want to ask, is it our culture to get trumpets and balloons and rose petals and cake? Is it our culture? Our culture as Nigerians, in fact, the intending groom does not have any business with the bride. Marriages are consummated from the family level, by families. So the male figures of the family would go to the other family and say, I have seen a flower in your domot, in your backyard, and we want to pluck that flower. So why pick the westernization that suits you, the westernization you like, the westernization that favors you, or the westernization that you just enjoy, and then frustrate or condemn your own partner's enjoyment of her own version of westernization? Why not be a traditional man through and through? Anything worth doing is worth doing well. If you want to be a traditional man, be a traditional man. Well, it's just like some people, I don't want to use some names, so they won't get angry when they come and justify polygamy after a court wedding. That's the height of illiteracy now. That's an illiterate talking. What is a traditional man doing in court? What is a traditional man doing in church? Is church your tradition? Church wedding has said marriage is a union between two people, excluding all others. That is the definition of marriage under the statutes. So why do you want to go into a church and get married and now come out and say you're a traditional man, you want to marry a second person? You are a hypocrite, not a traditional man. If you're a traditional man, stick to the traditional ways of doing things, and vice versa. So when you show yourself as a full traditional man, it's just like the women now that got married to the Oni of Ife. If he comes down and says he wants another wife, you cannot complain because that is the traditional man. You know what he stands for. So when you are a traditional man, come out plainly as a traditional man. So whenever a woman sees that with her eyes and still enters inside, then she will have herself to blame. She cannot complain. Not embracing Oyibo religion and entering their church to wed, and now opposing the Oyibo law that says when you wed in this church, you cannot wed another person. No, you cannot eat your cake and have it. If you want to propose like a traditional man, you go to the family and you do it the traditional way. But if you want to do balloon and rose petals and trumpet and po, you do it the Western way. Because if this thing happened in the bedroom, there's so many women watching me here, they'll tell me, they would admit that their husbands didn't kneel down. But they didn't have to create a show in public. Assuming it was just both of you inside the room or the living room, just both of you there, and he pulls out a ring while sitting down. I wanna sabi, But when you want to do it the the paparazzi way, you do it well. Choose a struggle, brother. Choose a side. And do you know that I got a deeper meaning? I had a deeper reflection of a deeper analysis of this thing that happened. To me, it's beyond, oh, they didn't kneel down, he didn't kneel down. No, it's beyond that. If you have 4 eyes, if you have 4 sides, you will see that it's way beyond whether he chose to kneel down or not. For me, it's more about a man who will put his ego, his pride, and appearance over anything and everything. Even the relationship, your happiness, whatever. He will put that tradition, that ego above any other thing. That kind of person, it is very dangerous to be in a marriage with that kind of person. You go cry tire, and he will still do what he wants to do. I mean, most men that propose to their wives after that day of proposal, most men don't ever get to kneel down again for any reason until they die. So how much could it have cost him? How much hairs could he have taken from his body, seeing that a scene was being created and it was beginning to get funny? What would they have taken from him to just do it for 1 second and get up and get it over with? So it's not that kind of a partner. It's not a flexible partner. It's a kind of partner that when he says this, oh God, if you like cry, weep, somersault, that thing that he said will still happen. Even if you hear me, they don't bend for nobody. So if in a relationship he can be that adamant and obstinate, what will then happen in marriage? And this is the same thing we are seeing in marriages, even in diaspora marriages. Like we're saying, oh, marriages in diaspora, when women come, this rubbish happens, and marriages don't work in diaspora. It is a big lie. Most of the marriages that are having issues in diaspora are marriages of such cultural men that have refused to be sensitive to reality. Men that would insist on tradition and culture even if it costs the life of the other person. So you're seeing your partner overburdened, overlabored. Even if it is your responsibility to bring money and you've gone to work, you've come back, you're at home. But your wife has so many children, she has so many chores, and you're seeing her suffer under what is termed her own responsibility culturally. You don't need any culture to tell you that love, kindness, thoughtfulness should supersede whose culture it is to do what. As a woman, you can't see your husband dying under pressure and you insist on the cultural way. Kindness, compassion should supersede culture. And that is the major way to have a happy marriage, whether home or abroad. If you marry a traditional man that does not have conscience, my dear, you will suffer. So my dear cultural people, my dear cultural odogus, culture is good though, but anyone who places culture above conscience, anyone who places culture above compassion, anyone who places culture above common sense has already lost the plot and the essence. Because tradition without sensitivity, without being sensitive, is tyranny. And that is why Christ, oh my God, if there was this one set of people in the Bible that Jesus Christ didn't like, it was the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes. They were the cultural men, the cultural people of those times, the keepers of the law, all pious. But Christ saw through them and saw that they were not doing that because they really want to preserve the tradition. They were hypocrites using tradition and culture for self-seeking agenda to favor themselves, to oppress others. They were interpreting it for their own interest and their interest alone, even if others are crushed by it. And Christ said, woe unto you, the Pharisees. Don't be a modern day Pharisee, quoting tradition and culture for self-seeking, oppressive and repulsive agendas. Compassion, common sense, conscience over culture and custom. Shikina. So guys, it's as if I used this topic to voice out my mind and my thoughts around this culture thing, because it has been reoccurring. Even on this channel, you hear people justifying rubbish with it is our culture, as if no, they kill, they execute people who refuse to do it, as if there are no other people that didn't do it. So I wanted also to address this culture thing holistically, while also finding some correlation with this our cultural man who refused to kneel to propose, and other people who were defending him that it is not our culture. Let us know what you think about it. Let us know what you think about everything we have discussed about culture. Let us also know what you think about this young man blowing up the relationship just because he refused to kneel, or this young lady blowing up the relationship too because her man refused to kneel. Do you think that she did the right thing? Do you think that she should have just let it go? If it's real, if the story is real, let's assume it's real. Do you believe that she should have just let it go? It doesn't mean anything. He has done enough. After all, he brought balloon and all that, Or do you think that the man should have budged and knelt down, swallowed his pride, and just taking that one-time sacrifice to make his woman happy? What do you think about this incident and generally what we spoke about culture? Let us get your thoughts down in the comment section. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. I hope I annoyed you very well. Aha, that is my job. That is my primary responsibility, to annoy the hell out of you. So if you're new here, you're seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your thoughts down in the comment section, and stay glued, for we have so much more coming your way. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye. Mwah.